You've probably grabbed a bottle of eye drops the moment your vision started blurring or your eyes felt dry and tired. Almost everyone does. But here's what your eye doctor may not have mentioned. Eye drops treat the symptom, not the cause. And meanwhile, there are two nutrients sitting in your kitchen right now that clinical research says can actually slow the progression of vision loss from the inside out. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what they are, what the science says, how much you need daily, and the one critical warning that could make this advice dangerous for a specific group of people. Stay with me, this could be the most important 15 minutes your eyes have ever gotten. Let's start with a number that should stop you cold. 196 million. That is how many people worldwide are currently living with age-related macular degeneration, AMD, not cataracts, not general blurry vision. AMD, the condition that steals your central vision, your ability to read a face, recognize a friend across the room, or read the words on a page. And it is the leading cause of irreversible vision loss in adults over 50 in the developed world. Not slowed vision, irreversible, gone. Here is what makes this especially alarming. The macula, the small but critical central zone of your retina responsible for sharp, detailed vision, has no pain receptors. Zero. You will not feel it degrading. There is no warning ache, no sharp signal that something is going wrong. By the time most people notice their central vision is off, things look wavy, there is a blurry patch, colors seem faded significant, permanent damage has already occurred. This is a silent condition, and it is getting worse globally as populations age and diets deteriorate. Cataracts, glaucoma, diabetic, macular, edema, eye disease is accelerating on multiple fronts. But AMD sits at the top of the list for its sheer prevalence and its permanence. And yet, the dominant consumer response to eye discomfort is still a bottle of lubricating drops from the pharmacy shelf. So let's talk about what those drops actually do, and more importantly, what they cannot do. Lubricating eye drops, the kind most of us buy over the counter, treat the surface of the eye. They add moisture to the tear film. That is genuinely useful for dry eye syndrome, which is a real and uncomfortable condition. Redness relief drops work differently. They constrict the tiny blood vessels on the surface of your eye to reduce the appearance of redness. Temporarily, the redness returns, often worse, because the underlying cause has not been addressed. Even prescription eye drops, like the prostaglandin analogs used for glaucoma, manage intraocular pressure. They slow damage to the optic nerve by reducing fluid pressure inside the eye. That is meaningful medicine. But none of these drops, not a single one, addresses what is happening deep inside your eye at the level of the macula. The actual mechanism behind AMD involves something called oxidative stress. Your photoreceptors, the rods and cones that convert light into the signals your brain reads as vision, are metabolically hyperactive. They consume enormous amounts of oxygen. And with oxygen metabolism comes a constant flood of reactive oxygen species, free radicals that damage cellular structures over time. Add to that the high-energy blue light pouring from screens, LED lighting, and sunlight, and you have a tissue under relentless oxidative assault every single day of your life. There is a measurable marker of how well your eye is handling this assault. It is called macular pigment optical density, MPOD. Think of MPOD as a score for how thick and protective the pigment layer at the center of your retina is. Research consistently shows that low MPOD is directly associated with higher AMD risk. The lower your macular pigment density, the more vulnerable your photoreceptors are to oxidative damage. And here's the key. Eye drops do not touch MPOD. They cannot. MPOD is built from the inside, from what you eat and absorb at the cellular level. So if eye drops are not protecting your macula, what is? That question has a precise, scientifically documented answer. And it comes down to two compounds you may have seen listed on the back of a supplement bottle, but probably never gave a second thought. Lutein and zeaxanthin. Lutein and zeaxanthin are carotenoids, a class of natural pigments found in plants and some animal-derived foods. There are hundreds of carotenoids in nature, but these two are extraordinary for one specific reason. The human body selectively concentrates them in the eye. Out of all the carotenoids circulating in your bloodstream, the retina specifically pulls lutein and zeaxanthin and deposits them in the macula and the lens. They are the primary components of that macular pigment we just discussed, your eye's built-in optical shield. How do they work? On two fronts simultaneously. First, they absorb high-energy blue light before it reaches your photoreceptors. This is a physical, optical function like a pair of internal sunglasses sitting directly in front of your most sensitive cells. Second, they act as direct antioxidants, neutralizing the reactive oxygen species generated by light exposure and the normal metabolic activity of your retinal cells. They are simultaneously a light filter and a free radical scavenger functioning in exactly the environment where AMD damage originates. Now, here is a critical biological fact. Your body cannot synthesize lutein or zeaxanthin on its own, not a single molecule. These must come entirely from your diet or from supplementation. The human body did not evolve a biosynthetic pathway for them, which means if you are not eating foods rich in these compounds consistently, your macular pigment is likely thin, your MPOD is likely low, and your photoreceptors are likely more exposed to the oxidative damage that drives AMD. This is not fringe nutritional theory. This is basic biochemistry documented in peer-reviewed research across multiple decades. And this brings us to the centerpiece of everything we are discussing today. The study that changed how eye specialists think about nutrition and AMD. The Age-Related Eye Disease Study, known as AREDS, conducted by the National Eye Institute, part of the United States National Institutes of Health. This is not a small observational study. This was a randomized, double-masked, placebo-controlled clinical trial. Over 4,000 participants, all at high risk for advanced AMD, followed for a median of approximately 5 years. This is the gold standard of clinical evidence. The original AREDS study, the first one, had already established that a specific combination of antioxidants and zinc could meaningfully reduce the risk of AMD progression. That formula included beta-carotene, vitamin C, vitamin E, and zinc. AREDS2 was designed to test a critical upgrade. What happens if you replace the beta-carotene in that formula with lutein at 10 milligrams and zeaxanthin at 2 milligrams per day? The result was definitive. The group receiving lutein and zeaxanthin showed a statistically significant 26% reduced risk of progression to advanced AMD compared to the group that did not receive these nutrients. 26%. In a population already managing significant AMD risk, that is not a marginal finding. That is a clinically meaningful reduction in the progression of an irreversible blinding disease. And it gets more specific than that. Subgroup analysis looking at participants based on how much lutein and zeaxanthin they were already getting from their diet at the start of the study showed something illuminating. The people who had the lowest dietary intake of these nutrients at baseline benefited the most. Their risk reduction was in the range of 26 to 30%. This tells us something important practically. If you are already eating a diet rich in leafy greens every single day, your additional benefit from supplementation may be more modest. But if you are eating a typical Western diet, processed foods, minimal vegetables, few eggs, your potential benefit from correcting this deficiency is substantial. The full AREDS2 formula also contains vitamin C at 500 milligrams, vitamin E at 400 IU, zinc at 80 milligrams, and copper at 2 milligrams. These components matter too, particularly for people with intermediate or advanced AMD. But the headline upgrade from AREDS to AREDS2, the key change that produced better outcomes and removed a serious safety risk, was replacing beta-carotene with lutein and zeaxanthin. We are going to come back to why that replacement matters so critically in just a few minutes. Stay with me because the warning around beta-carotene is something every person watching this absolutely needs to hear. But first, let's make this practical. 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin per day, that is the clinically studied dose. How do you actually get there through food? Let's start with the single most powerful source, cooked spinach. 1 cup of cooked spinach delivers approximately 20 milligrams of lutein and zeaxanthin combined. That is double the target in a single serving. Even raw spinach provides around 3 to 4 milligrams per cup. Kale edges out spinach slightly. 1 cup of cooked kale provides roughly 23 milligrams, making it the highest density source of these nutrients in the food supply. Now here is something surprising about eggs, and this is a nuance most people miss entirely. 1 large egg yolk contains only about 0.25 milligrams of lutein and zeaxanthin. On paper, that looks unimpressive compared to spinach, but the bioavailability from egg yolk is up to 3 times higher than from leafy greens. Why? Because lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble compounds. In an egg yolk, they are already suspended in dietary fat, which is precisely the environment your gut needs to absorb them efficiently. From dry, leafy greens eaten without fat, absorption is significantly less efficient. This brings us to one of the most actionable tips in this entire video. Lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble. That means your body absorbs them dramatically better when you consume them alongside dietary fat. A spinach salad dressed with olive oil, sautéed kale cooked with a tablespoon of olive oil or butter, eggs on the side of your greens. Those are not just tasty combinations, they are scientifically supported strategies for maximizing the nutrients your macula actually receives. Other meaningful food sources include corn, orange bell peppers, goji berries, and broccoli. These contribute smaller but still worthwhile amounts. But for hitting the AREDS 2 daily target through diet, your two primary tools are cooked leafy greens and eggs with fat. A practical daily combination: 2 eggs at breakfast and 1 cup of cooked spinach or kale at dinner. That combination can realistically meet or exceed the 10 milligram lutein target consistently. Now we are about 2 minutes away from the most important safety warning in this entire video. Do not skip this section. But first, let's cover supplementation for people who genuinely cannot or do not eat these foods daily. For people who want to supplement their diet or use supplements as a safety net alongside food, here is exactly what to look for on a label. The AREDS 2 validated dose is 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin per day. Many supplements on the market are underdosed. Some contain 6 milligrams of lutein, some contain 5. Check the label carefully and confirm both numbers. The ratio matters. 10 to 2 is the studied combination. When possible, look for supplements that use Floraglow lutein or Omnixan zeaxanthin as their ingredient forms. These are standardized, clinically studied versions of these compounds, the specific forms used in the research backing these recommendations. Third-party testing also matters for supplement quality. Look for certifications from USP, NSF International, or Consumer Lab. These indicate the product has been independently verified to contain what the label claims. Timing: take your lutein and zeaxanthin supplement with a meal that contains some fat. The same absorption principle applies, whether you are getting these nutrients from food or capsules. Fat-soluble nutrients need dietary fat to be absorbed properly. How long before you see results? Macular pigment density builds gradually. It does not change overnight. A study published in 2018 demonstrated measurable increases in MPOD after 12 weeks of consistent supplementation. This is a long-term protective strategy, not an acute treatment. You are not going to feel your eyes change in a week, but over months and years, you are building and maintaining the pigment layer that shields your most critical photoreceptors. Set that expectation clearly for yourself. Now, the warning. This is the section I told you to wait for, and I need you to take this seriously. Many eye health supplements, including older AREDS formula products, general antioxidant blends, and multivitamins, marketed for eye health still contain beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is a different carotenoid, a precursor to vitamin A, and it was part of the original AREDS formula before it was replaced in AREDS 2. Here is why it was replaced, and why this matters enormously for a specific group of people. A major clinical trial called the CARET studied the beta-carotene and retinol efficacy trial, along with multiple subsequent analyses, found that high-dose beta-carotene supplementation at approximately 20 to 30 milligrams per day in supplement form was associated with a significantly increased risk of lung cancer in people who smoke or who have smoked. The relative risk increase observed in current smokers was approximately 28%. This is not a theoretical risk. This is not a minor footnote. A 28% increased risk of lung cancer from a supplement that is still being sold and used today, often without adequate warning. Let me say that again because it is that important. If you smoke, or if you have smoked within the last 10 years, and you take a supplement containing high-dose beta-carotene, research indicates you may be significantly increasing your risk of lung cancer. This is precisely why the AREDS 2 study was designed to remove beta-carotene from the formula and replace it with lutein and zeaxanthin. The good news, and this is directly relevant if you smoke, is that lutein and zeaxanthin do not carry this risk. They are safe for current smokers and former smokers at the studied doses. This was specifically evaluated and confirmed in the AREDS 2 study design. But here is the real-world danger. Many people walk into a pharmacy, see an eye health supplement on the shelf, assume it is the AREDS 2 formula, and buy it without reading the label. If that product is based on the original AREDS formula, or if it is a generic multivitamin that includes beta-carotene under mixed carotenoids, a smoker or former smoker taking that product could be unknowingly elevating their cancer risk while trying to protect their vision. Action step, and please take this one seriously. If you smoke or have smoked within the last 10 years, read every supplement label before you buy. Look specifically for the words beta-carotene or mixed carotenoids, where beta-carotene is listed as a primary ingredient. Avoid those products entirely. Look for supplements that list lutein and zeaxanthin explicitly at the AREDS 2 doses with no beta-carotene. And always consult a physician before starting any new supplement regimen, especially with a history of smoking. Please do not skip that step. Now let's help you understand where you personally sit in terms of AMD risk and urgency. AMD progresses in stages. Stage 1 is no AMD, no visible drusen deposits in the retina, no pigment changes. Stage 2 is early AMD small drusen, no vision loss yet. Stage 3 is intermediate AMD, medium to large drusen, possible early pigment changes, mild vision changes may begin. Stage 4 is advanced AMD. This includes geographic atrophy, where retinal cells die in patches, and neovascular AMD, where abnormal blood vessels grow and leak into the macula. The AREDS 2 supplementation protocol showed its greatest measurable benefit for people at intermediate AMD and for people who have advanced AMD in one eye but not the other. That is where the 26% risk reduction figure applies most directly. For people with no AMD signs at all, the priority is dietary optimization, getting consistent lutein and zeaxanthin through food. Supplements in this group may provide additional insurance, especially for people with chronically low vegetable intake, but the evidence base is strongest for the intermediate stage. Other risk factors that compound your urgency include smoking, which doubles AMD risk independently, beyond the supplement issue we just discussed. UV light exposure without UV blocking sunglasses. Elevated BMI and cardiovascular disease, both linked to AMD through inflammatory and vascular mechanisms. A family history of AMD genetics play a real role here. And prolonged high-intensity screen use, though the direct AMD link from screens is still being studied. Blue light exposure over decades is a relevant cumulative factor. Who should be getting a dilated eye exam? Anyone over 50? Anyone with a direct family history of AMD or glaucoma? Anyone with diabetes, diabetic macular edema is a leading cause of vision loss and operates on a completely different mechanism that requires specific medical management. And long-term heavy screen users who have never had a comprehensive eye exam. One specific test worth asking your optometrist about: macular pigment optical density testing. MPOD can actually be measured non-invasively in a clinical setting using a technique called heterochromatic flicker photometry. Not every practice offers it, but it is worth asking about because it gives you a direct, personalized read on how well your macula is actually protected right now. Beyond lutein and zeaxanthin, there are several complementary lifestyle factors that work alongside these nutrients synergistically. Sunglasses, but specifically ones rated to block both UVA and UVB radiation, not just UVB. Most cheap sunglasses only advertise UVB protection. UVA penetrates deeper and contributes to lens and retinal damage over time. Check the label. Blue light filtering lenses for extended screen users are a low-risk addition. The direct AMD protection evidence is still emerging, but they may reduce visual fatigue. The 20-20-20 rule for digital eye strain. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. This does not protect the macula structurally, let's be honest about that, but it reduces ciliary muscle fatigue and the discomfort associated with prolonged near focus. Hydration matters, for the tear film dehydration directly compromises tear quality and contributes to dry eye, which is a real and worsening epidemic. Omega-3 fatty acids from oily fish, EPA, and DHA specifically have solid evidence for dry eye syndrome and emerging support for macular health. The Mediterranean dietary pattern overall shows strong associations with lower AMD risk in observational data. Blood sugar control is deeply relevant for anyone with diabetes or prediabetes. Diabetic macular edema can cause devastating vision loss that no amount of lutein corrects. These are supporting players. They matter. But the star of the evidence-based eye protection story remains lutein and zeaxanthin at the AREDS 2 dose. So here is your action plan. 3 steps. Simple, evidence-backed, and starting this week. Step 1. Food first. Add 1 serving of cooked leafy greens to your daily diet. Spinach or kale are your best options. Cook them with olive oil or pair them with eggs to maximize fat-soluble absorption. 1 cup cooked at dinner. That alone can take you above the AREDS 2 daily lutein target. Step 2. Supplement smart if needed. If your diet is inconsistent, if life gets busy and the spinach does not happen every day, consider an AREDS 2 formula supplement providing 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin with no beta-carotene. Take it with a fat-containing meal, check for third-party certification, and if you smoke or have smoked recently, read that label before you buy anything. Step 3. Get checked. If you are over 50, have a family history of AMD, have diabetes, or have never had a comprehensive dilated eye exam, schedule one. Ask your eye doctor directly about your AMD staging. Ask whether AREDS 2 formula supplementation is appropriate for your specific situation. This is not a video that replaces that conversation, it prepares you for it. Let's bring it all together. Eye drops serve a real purpose for surface symptoms. Nobody is saying throw them away. But they cannot reach your macula. They cannot build macular pigment. They cannot reduce your risk of AMD progression by 26% the way the AREDS 2 nutrients can. The Age-Related Eye Disease Study. 2 over 4,000 participants. 5 years of follow-up, conducted by the National Eye Institute, gave us a specific, validated answer. 10 milligrams of lutein and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin per day reduces the risk of AMD progression significantly. The best food sources are cooked spinach, cooked kale, and eggs consumed with fat for superior absorption. The critical warning is real and serious smokers and former smokers must avoid beta-carotene supplements and use only AREDS 2 formula products. Lutein and zeaxanthin are safe for that group beta-carotene is not. Your eyes are not passive organs sitting in your skull waiting to fail. They are living tissue that responds measurably, meaningfully to what you consistently feed them. The macular pigment can be built, it can be maintained, and the research from Medimint Health's analysis of the best available science points to this being one of the most evidence-backed nutritional interventions you can make for your long-term vision. If this video gave you something genuinely new, especially the eye drop myth or the smoker warning, hit the like button. It helps this information reach the people who need it most. Subscribe for evidence-based health content that respects your intelligence and does not oversimplify the science. And if you want to go deeper, watch our next video on omega-3 fatty acids for eye and brain health, because what helps your macula also turns out to be profoundly relevant to your cognitive function as you age. The connection is fascinating, and the evidence is stronger than most people realize. This content is for educational purposes only. Please consult your doctor before making health changes.